Hey everybody, Tyler here. Long time no see. I wanted to talk a little bit today about PICO-SHEETS, a little program that I've been using to run a spreadsheet on a Game Boy. Here you can kind of see that, and it's got a keyboard and all sorts of fun things. I can't unfortunately show you and play at the same time, but we'll get to it. It is a program that I made a couple of months ago in Pico 8, which is what you're looking at here. Pico 8 is a really, really cool tool that I've really enjoyed getting back into. It's been around for a while, and I kind of forgot about it and came back to it. And it is a fantasy console, is what they call it, by Lexilawful. I don't really know if it's still fantasy, considering how many people are making stuff with it. Early versions of like Celeste were made in Pico 8. But it is a console that lets you build games. Let me see if I can find, let me go to the demos. See, I've made a lot of stuff in this. And we can load like Jelpy. Oops, not Helpy. And we can run Jelpy and see it just makes these fun little games that run in something that's meant to be similar to like an NES or Super NES. It has a limited number of colors you can use, obviously a limited resolution, only 6 buttons. You've got up, down, left, right, and then circle or X is what they call it. But then all the code is also right there. So you've got a whole development kit and SDK built in. You've got a sprite editor, a map editor, sound, and music. It's just really fun to play around in. So obviously, me being a nerd, I made a spreadsheet in it, which I will load up here. Oh, did I forget what it's called? Yeah, underscore. That's funny. We'll do it live. All right, so PICO-SHEETS is, there's no music yet, a program that I made, here I can run it here for you to see better, that is literally just a spreadsheet. So you can move around with the arrow keys, you can hit select to open the keyboard, and then you can type in a formula if you want. Granted, typing is a little slow because it was made to run on a Game Boy. Shift, parentheses, unshift. We'll do something really easy. We'll say 2 and 8 should be 10, right? And close out that formula, hit return, and it should run the formula for me. There we go. There's the formula. And then I can edit that again. If I want to, undo that, we'll escape. And then I can also like reference that cell if I want to. So I could say equals A2 and I broke it. Well, anyway, you kind of get the idea. We have a bunch of different options in here as well. And I just kind of want to show how I made it, because something I've been thinking about a lot lately is we should also be making our own spreadsheets in addition to using things like Excel or Google Sheets, just because it gives us more full control over the things that we actually do with them and the things that are included in them. Like if you don't want AI, like I don't, this doesn't have AI because I can choose whether to put it there or not. So I just want to look at the code real quick and kind of show you how I did it. A lot of this up top is sort of cruft. Some of it is the keyboard. The keyboard is literally just a series of arrays. A thing you'll see a lot in this code as I go through it is I tend to think of everything as arrays, because if you think of something as an array or as a list, then you can think of each individual item as a list item, and then you only have to think about one thing at a time, and that sort of mentality keeps coming up again and again in this project. Oh, there's all the help text. So basically what I do is when you start up the app, I say, okay, so we want 100 rows and we want 26 columns, being every letter of the alphabet, and we add an object to a cells array. And all that object has is its own ID, which is its alphabet number, the column that it's in, and then the row number that it's in vertically. And then it has an input and it has an output. And then, Pico 8 also lets you deal with like local file storage, which is really cool. So I'm playing around with that. And then let's see, there's settings, there's subsettings, there's help, there's browse. All of this code will be in links that I'll provide in the description as well. So if you want to look at all this later, you're more than welcome to fork it, make copies, do whatever. This is just a lot of fun to put together. So let's see, go into edit. So as we are in edit mode, which is when you're browsing around the spreadsheet, we have button presses to move left, right, up, and down on the keyboard. We have some logic for moving the camera around. And then we have some logic for working with the keyboard. And then, here we go. That is backspace and cancel. And then we have, where is it? Here we go. When you select return, which I've just rendered as like a right arrow, we go, okay, we're going to put you back in browse mode, and we're going to update all of the cells. So let's look at what that function does. That'll be really all I want to talk about today, just because it's kind of fun. And it'll show you kind of how I'm thinking about a spreadsheet as a concept and a thing that we can make on our own in something as simple as Pico-8. So let me go ahead and find, that will give me just the first reference of it. Let's say function update all. There we are. Okay, so real simple. Again, we can fit all of the code roughly abstracted in this screen. So what we do is when we update a cell, any cell, we do a loop that says for cell in all of the cells do. I should also mention this is written in Lua. I don't know if I said that earlier. Lua is really cool. Lua is like, what if Python was friendlier? And so we say for each cell, we grab our input, which is the input value that I showed you earlier. We calculate roughly an output, which has, I'll show you this in a bit, replace addresses. So that's why I was expecting when I typed in A2 to do something. I'm sure if you're watching the recording, you've spotted what I did wrong. And then we say if the input begins with an equals sign, we know that that is a function. So you're trying to do like a sum or a subtract or a product or a quotient or whatever. And then we change our output actually to not just the input with the addresses replaced, but to a function. So we have this separate function that I've just called func for simplicity. Sounds a little funky now that I say it out loud. And we calculate what the outcome of that function should be, and we set that to the output of the cell. So then when we go to display the cells, really all we do is we go, okay, what row are you in? What column are you in? That's your X and Y. And then we just write the output from that cell. We don't worry about the input at display time. So let's look at function. I think actually let's look at replace addresses first. This is fun, kind of, it's been a couple months since I've looked at this code, so it's fun going back to it. Let's find, oh, whoops, it still had update all saved. Sorry, scrolling through. So there is, you can export as a CSV is a fun thing Pico-8 lets you do. Here is func, but I want to find replace addresses first because I think that will kind of show you a bit of what I'm going for. Here we go. All right, so first thing we do before we calculate what a cell wants to do is we look for any of those address references, like if you type in A1, A2, B3, G47, whatever, we want to replace that with the output of that cell. So first, we figure out what the whole function is, the whole text, the whole input of the cell that we want to replace the addresses in. And then we say, we have just an arbitrarily named value called f, which is sort of our pointer. We're going to read the text from left to right. And we're going to say, okay, character by character, while f is less than the length of that string that we want to replace, we check if that character is a letter. And in which case we go, okay, the letter, that's probably a column name, like A is a column name. And then we check if the next character is not a letter, is a digit. Oh, here, we do that here. And what we do is we test that 1, 2, 3 times to see, okay, is the next character a digit? If so, maybe we're looking at A1. Is the character after that a digit? Maybe we're looking at A11. Is the character after that a digit? Maybe we're looking at A100, right? And if none of those are digits, then we know that this isn't a column reference, so we move to the next character, and the whole thing starts over again. This is long-winded, and maybe not the most efficient way of finding what an address is, but basically once we do that, if we have both a row and a column, we feel satisfied that we've isolated, like, okay, this says A11. We go and we find that cell in that list that we created right at the very beginning, and we grab its output and we return that. Otherwise, we just keep going. So that's replacing addresses. Then what we do, if we come up here, that's using a match function, which is like kind of a regex matcher that I don't really want to talk about because this is messy and probably bad code. So if you look at the source code for this and you think you can fix it, go for it. But what we'll do now is let's look at function, because this is really fun. So once we replace the addresses, very nice and cool, we can set our potential output to, we'll start with nothing. And then we just do a check to see like, okay, using that matcher that I'm not going to talk about, does our input contain the sum formula? And then we can say, okay, if the matcher has returned something with something, let's go ahead and do this process where we take the arguments, we find everything in between the parentheses, we split them by commas, and for each of those arguments, we add them together. Very simple for sum. We do the same thing for product, where we multiply them together. And then I've got minus, where we take the first one, and then we subtract the second one, and then we subtract the third one, and so on. Divide, same thing. We've got max. This one I had to be a little bit clever with. You'll notice that divide and sum are kind of their own variables that I've set here. Max is also a function in Lua, so I've had to say max for this value name, just so it doesn't get confused between that and the real function. Min, max, mid. So each of these is just saying like, okay, if the input of this text contains this formula, I should do this thing and return that output. And you can be as arbitrary as you want here. This can be literally anything you need. So yeah, then we've got rand, just if you need like a random number. This all took maybe a couple of days to put together. It was just in my off time. Like I said, a lot of the code here is not very clean. There's so many things that I just genuinely forgot about Lua and Pico-8. Like you'll see, if you look at the source code, I do this a lot where I say variable equals variable plus 1, where really I could just rewrite this as plus equals 1, or I think even plus plus like you would in like JavaScript or something. I just forgot that was a thing, so I didn't do it. But the thing is, here's the cool bit for me is now, anytime I want just a simple spreadsheet, say if I've got my Game Boy on me and I just want to like, oh, let me put something together, I can just have it here, and I made it. And if I need a new function, say if I need it to do something really specific, I know that I can just come in here and say, all right, well, if, let's see, really specific thing, and it equals, I'm now trying to think of like what would be a clever function to put in here. But if I have a specific thing, then I can say, okay, if it matches that, whoops. One of the fun things about Pico-8 is everything is always caps. So if you start typing in capital letters like I just did, you actually get some fun symbols. So if there's something there, then output equals cool. So now I can like run it, and I'm gonna select. Now, of course, I did accidentally pick a really long word. So give me just a second while I type specific using the keyboard, I should say. So one of the pieces of feedback, whoops, that I got really early on is that like, oh, it's kind of a pain to type. And that's, again, because I designed it for a Game Boy. Being a pain to type is kind of a feature, I think, in my brain. Now, of course, can I type and talk even under normal circumstances? No. So this is taking even longer. So specific doesn't need any arguments, and it outputs cool. There, I've just made a new function in a spreadsheet in no time at all. It took more time to write the formula than it did to add the function. So I just think this is really neat. This is something that now I can take with me into basically any device. Pico-8 runs anywhere. I can customize it how I want. I can add sounds if I want, music and sprites, all that right here in the thing. So should you make exactly this? I don't know your use case, maybe not. Should you start thinking about, can I build a tool that is purpose built for the thing that I need? Yes, absolutely. And if you want a place to get started, Pico-8 is really cool. This is not like an advertisement or anything. They didn't pay me to say this. I just really like it. And that's PICO-SHEETS. So I'm going to put the link to that down below. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. And I know it's been a while since I made a video. I hope to start making more like this very soon. So stay tuned. Okay, bye.